So now you have been told the sordid yet true story of YM18. Now what that illustrates, as we said in the video, is this idea of this ex post facto law, a law applied after the fact. And the U.S. Constitution forbids those type of laws. We didn't want, that's an unjust system. If you do something, it's not illegal. The legislature then goes back, passes a law, makes it illegal, and goes back and arrest you for what you did when it wasn't a crime. This is the idea. You can't do that because that is a violation of the Constitution. The Constitution prohibits that kind of law. The example here is not, we're not trying to explain what an ex post facto law is so much as we're trying to explain how the U.S. Constitution works. If a law contradicts it, since the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, that law that contradicts the supreme law of the land must yield to the higher law, and therefore it is not a law. That is a big deal, and that is one of the fundamental ways that individual rights have been protected in our country. And even state rights, for that matter, have been protected in our country. There, in essence, is the nuts and bolts of the Constitution, how it works. Let me just show you one other component here of the Constitution, just the organization of the Constitution. When you first read the Constitution, you might be a little mystified by it, but if you break it down, it's really not that difficult. Now, the Constitution is just a little over 4,000 words, as you know, if you've done the reading. And in that 4,000 words, it doesn't intend to answer every question that will arise within the United States. What it intends to do is it intends to set up a structure, a system, an institution that can address issues. This institution is the government, which follows certain laws. So if you were to ask to explain to a fifth grader what the Constitution is and how it works, perhaps the best explanation I've ever heard is this: the Constitution is the rules or the institutions. Maybe a little tough for a fifth grader, but so let's just go with the rules. The Constitution is the rules that make the rules. So if we add institutions, the Constitution is the rules and institutions or organizations that function to make the rules of our society. That is what the Constitution is. And the Constitution says, in essence, there are certain things that organization, that institution cannot do. And that's where judicial review comes in. So now going back therefore to the Constitution itself. It is divided into 7 articles. The first article deals with the legislative branch. It establishes what the legislative branch is. That is the Senate and House of Representatives. It lists some of its powers. It lists its powers. It says some things that it can't do, such as no ex post facto laws. And it goes on in that vein. Article 2 establishes that the executive shall be composed of a president, and it lists the president's powers and some of the things the president cannot do. The same with Article 3. It establishes the judicial branch of the United States and says it will be headed by one Supreme Court and other courts that Congress shall from time to time ordain and establish. That's what it does. It doesn't even determine the size of the Supreme Court. It leaves that to Congress to do. That was a wise decision in itself. Article 4 deals with state relations to each other and to the national government. How do we keep the Constitution in tune with the times? Not through judicial decree, as some people would have us, but the Constitution itself has set up a process for that. In Article 5, the amendment process. Article 6 deals with the supremacy clause, meaning that the Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land. Anything to the states or state constitutions to the contrary notwithstanding, and establishes an oath that people who have office must take to support the Constitution. And Article 7 deals with how the Constitution will be ratified. And that's it. There's not a whole lot there, nor should there be. It's the fundamental law. It's not the transitory law that will change from day to day, but the process by which we will make law, the process or the rules by which we will make the rules. It's a beautiful thing. All right, last slide. the Federalist Papers. So now that the Constitution is written, it is sent out to the states as part of that ratification process of Article 7. It's going to be sent out to the states, and the states will have to vote on whether or not to approve the Constitution. And it was established in that it would take minimum of 9 of 13 states for the Constitution to become effective. Things were going pretty well, but then they started to waver a bit in New York. Now, New York was one of the larger states, and People's Constitutional Convention that were in favor of it really felt that New York needed to ratify, because if a large state did not ratify, it would put a crimp on the whole thing and may fall apart. So Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison, they wrote these newspaper articles that were published in New York in an attempt to explain to the delegates of the New York State's ratifying convention how the Constitution was intended to work. These became known as the Federalist Papers, and to this date, they are the best commentary we have on what the Founding Fathers thought they were doing when they created the Constitution, and what they believed that they were doing and how it would work. We've already quoted from one, Federalist 51. We'll quote from them here and again throughout the semester. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Constitution of the United States in a nutshell. There's obviously a lot more to it than that, which we will come across throughout the semester.